Like most of us, when I first started playing guitar, I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought chords were just these big open strummers and power chords. I knew that you could move a power chord all around the neck, but it never occurred to me that you could really do the same thing with those open chords. We used the caged method to explore movable chord shapes back in lesson 295 and 297, but let's take this further and really dig into some fantastic blues-based movable chord shapes. Hey, John here, and this is your Tuesday Blues, where we dig into acoustic blues every single Tuesday to help you play the music you love. Before we dive in, we're going to leverage the caged method heavily here in this lesson. So if you need to get up to speed with that, check out this lesson. There's a seventh chord shape that matches each of the 5 open chord shapes in caged. The C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, and D shape. Say that 5 times fast. And in the last lesson on this, we took a look at the C shape and converted it into C7 before putting it through a cool country blues picking pattern. Now today, we're going to do the same thing with the other 4 chord shapes. Plus, I got a bonus movable shape that I really love, super useful, that I want to share with you as well. First, let's look at our A shape. We'll convert it to an A7 shape by lifting off the 3rd string. And then we'll want to refinger it like this to make it movable. But note that this open 3rd string is a G note, and that makes this a dominant 7 chord. That's that bluesy spice that we're looking for here. And it's movable if you just imagine your index finger is where the nut is. All right, and we can move that anywhere. Let's move it up here, and we've got our root on the 5th string, 3rd fret. That's a C note, so this is now a C7. All right, just as with the A7, the root is on the 5th string. We'll apply the general picking pattern that we picked up in lesson number 297. Premium members, you can pick up the tab and follow along with these examples, but we're going to move on and move up the caged system and have a look at the G shape. And this one is pretty tricky. The shape really doesn't look much like an open G chord unless you kind of adjust a few things in your mind. To me, I like to think of it more as this long A chord, because if you fret your G like this, you can kind of see that long A taking shape. And I'm just saying A shape. I know that's not an A chord, that's a G chord right here. But we can move it up, and it's just commonly played here, and we call that the long A. So with this long A shape, we can do the same thing and move it through a nice little progression with a little picking pattern. Now let's have a look at the E shape. We'll make that an E7 by exposing that flat 7 interval, and then picturing your index finger as the nut. You can move that anywhere. So that in and of itself is a movable chord shape, but here's a little alteration that I like to play. It really works nicely in finger picking. I'm going to play this fingering of it. This is an A7, but so is this, but I'm hooking my thumb over and catching that A in the bass, skipping over this string, and then I'm able to play these 3 strings, 4, 3, and 2 here. Very cool, very useful shape. I use it all the time. If you can do it, you've got something that's definitely movable and definitely bluesy sounding. Now, if you can't catch that thumb over the fretboard to do it, you can absolutely refinger this and play that low note with your index finger and let that little triangle D shape be played with your other 3 fingers. Finally, we can play a D shape in the same way. Take our D shape here, our root's on the 4th string, move it anywhere up the fretboard. Now, before I mention one of the most useful closed shapes, I want to point out that it's a great idea to practice moving these shapes around the neck in your own practice sessions. And if you aren't quite up to the finger picking and all the rhythm in these examples, slow things down and modify them to your skill level, but keep this concept close to heart and practice taking a closed chord shape and moving it around the fretboard. Now on to one of the most useful chords that is pretty easy to play all over the neck. This is a ninth chord. It's got that bluesy seventh chord vibe because of the flat seventh interval that's embedded in that chord, but we add a note above the octave. We add the ninth, right? If you count up the scale degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 would be the octave. We don't normally say that, but 8 would be the octave, so 9 is one tone up the scale above the octave. And the shape that I was playing here, that was a C9, and it really comes from this C7, but we know we've got an octave here. There's a C, here's our root C, here's an octave up, so if we go one note up the scale from C, we play a D, that's the note that we're looking for. That's what gives this that cool ninth quality. And we're gonna refinger this to play with the ninth under this bar, and you can even extend that to the first string and catch that G, and that puts all 4 tones into this chord. We've got a root, third, flat 7, 9, and 5. I said 4, that's 5 tones. All right, super cool chord, and you can hear lot of fun to be had with this chord. Now it's important to know that these chords are frequently used with other chord shapes, and they provide a lot of balance and color to the overall sound. It's super bluesy though. Here's a quick example in B where I use the B chord with this E shape, B7, and then I play around with the ninths from the C shape in E and then F sharp. After you get a feel for these shapes, mixing them and matching them like this example will become second nature. Now it takes practice, but being able to call on chord shapes in any key, in any position on the neck is a true superpower on the guitar, and it starts by leveraging these basic chord shapes like we've just done. So practice. And if you want to keep learning, check out this video that I've got right here. Click or tap there, and I'll see you in that lesson. And I hope to see you back here next Tuesday. Until then, stay safe out there. Practice smart and play on.